Hello world. It's about 11 o'clock at night, but I'm really trying to get this video done. I really wanted to get this out the way. Get this one video out the way. You know what? First of all, how y'all doing? Hope y'all day went well, and get ready for the next one. So much was happening today, man. I had some errands I had to go run, but I'm back now. I'm gonna try to get this video done. But anyway, there was so many things happening today, but wow. Wow. You know what? I'm gonna talk about it in my next video tomorrow. But let me get to this. What I really wanted to get to. I really wanted to get to this. I wanted to talk about Marvel vs. Capcom 4. You know why? You know, the Marvel versus DC. You know, like neither realms working. Neither realms trying to work on Marvel versus DC. But it's not looking good for Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Listen to this. Mortal Kombat 11 developer working on a Marvel game could be bad for Marvel vs. Capcom 4. NetherRealms is rumored to be working on a Marvel fighting game, which is good news for fans, but may be bad news for another Marvel game. And says here, NetherRealm Studios behind Mortal Kombat has already proven itself adept to taking comic properties and adapting them into fighting games with the Injustice series. One second here. Let's see if I got this on loop here. Excellent, got it. Love that bass. But anyway, let me continue. Let me start over. It says NetherRealm Studios behind Mortal Kombat has already proven itself adept at taking comic properties and adapting them into fighting games with the Injustice series. The gameplay speaks for itself, and the story panned for original spawned a comic series that's still one of DC's most popular, with a new rumor that the Mortal Kombat developer is working on a Marvel fighting game. Many fans are already salving at the concept. However, another game that was rumored to be in development might end up a casualty of NetherRealm's crafty Marvel fighting game, Marvel vs. Capcom 4. The Marvel vs. Capcom 4 series was for a long time the premier way for Marvel and fighting game fans to blend interests. Known for fast-paced combat and insane screen flipping powers, the series became a fighting game staple. The series' inception started way back with Street Fighter vs. X-Men after Capcom had created the SNES era Marvel video games. Back then, Marvel was nearly bankrupt and had little input on games based on those licenses. Now Marvel stand as one of entertainment's juggernaut. And it says here, where am I at? Where am I at here? Did I mess up? It says many fighting games fans consider Marvel vs. Capcom the golden era of crossover fighters, but this could be bad news for rumored Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Says here, rumor about NetherRealm developed Marvel game have been reigniting recently, but the idea has been talked about for a couple of years now. After an interview with Ed Boon revealed his excitement to work on such a title, and a cagey response to having been in talks with Marvel, fans run with speculation. Injustice fans already know that NetherRealm could handle the property well. However, many fans of Marvel vs. Capcom series worry that it could cement the end of the beloved franchise after the lackluster reception of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh boy. It says here, Marvel Game Division has become less hands-on with developers since Infinite release, but it might be hard to imagine a world without two Marvel properties existing in the same space and in direct competition with each other. Again, all of this is based on pure rumors, and the extension of those rumors, like NetherRealm actually working on a Marvel vs. DC game of some sort, which is something that's been a long-running dream for many comic book fans. But by virtue of even having a versus in its title, would draw immediate parallels to Marvel vs. Capcom. A lot of fighting game fans are hoping to see another Marvel vs. Capcom title after the release commercial flop of the last game, with less direct interference from Marvel and Capcom, seeming resurgence of energy into its fighting game. Then it says here, but Marvel is still very careful with its licensing now, and many fans are worried that it wouldn't allow for two direct competitors to exist in the same space. Hopefully fans should have, no, let me say that again. Hopefully fans should take this with a grain of salt, as it's purely conjecture, speculation. Marvel might instead just look to distance the release of two games in order to limit cannibalizing its own markets, especially with the now re-owned Marvel properties. A Marvel game from NetherRealm Studios is rumored to be in development. Well, based on what I just read, it's only a matter of time, you know. But it doesn't look good for like a Marvel vs. Capcom, for like a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 game. If NetherRealm is really working on a Marvel vs. DC, it will be the end of Marvel vs. Capcom series for good. Because, you know what I'm saying, Capcom had the Marvel license, and they should have tried to at least try to get DC to try to make a Marvel vs. Capcom before someone else sees the opportunity. And they have had X-Men Children of the Atoms, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And then Infinite wasn't so good. So, but Capcom had what, 7 years? A 7-year life, 7 years to make a Marvel vs. DC, and it never happened. But now, since NetherRealm got DC, and they made Mortal Kombat vs. DC first, but then they turned Mortal Kombat vs. DC into Injustice, and then there's an Injustice 2. You know, NetherRealm is looking to capitalize off this because Capcom had their chance. And like I told you yesterday in the video that I made, that it would be only a matter of time before this happened. So rumors, leaks, speculation, it don't mean anything until we see a live video, gameplay footage, and a release date of such a game. But if it do happen, there will be a huge fan base for that, for Marvel versus DC, because DC has a huge fan base, Marvel has a huge fan base, and Marvel it would draw in a lot of people, you know, to that franchise. It would. So it's only a matter of time, man. So we'll see what Capcom does, not Capcom, but what NetherRealm does. But if they are working on Marvel vs. DC, woo, man, that would send shockwaves across the fighting game landscape, because fans been dreaming, you know, of a Marvel vs. DC for years, ever since they did that when they did Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and then they had Batman they had a Batman logo inside like a machine, like a a sale or something like that, and people were like looking like, wow, this could happen. But Capcom had 7 tries at it, and they never did anything. So it's only a matter of time, man. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. You know, they had 7 cracks at it. Nothing of a Marvel vs. DC King happened. So NetherRealms, they started Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Then that turned into Injustice. Injustice 1 is pretty good. If you got an Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, or Wii U, you can play it. But then comes Injustice 2, and now the anticipation is at an all-time high now. So now, I guess I think Ed Boon is like expanding his horizon. You know, like, you know what? Let's try to get Marvel into Injustice. So it's only so now all it comes down to now is time. It's only a matter of time, you know. But if Injustice 3 is a Marvel vs. DC, whoa! Comic book fans will go nuts. Comic book fans will go nuts, man, and the Marvel vs. Capcom series would die off right then and there. If NetherRealm Studios do a Marvel vs. Capcom, I mean, not a Marvel vs. Capcom, but a Marvel vs. DC, it will be the end of the Marvel vs. Capcom series. It's dead. Okay, there's no coming back from that. If there is a Marvel vs. DC and NetherRealm Studios does it, it will be the end of the Marvel vs. Capcom series. It is dead. You will never see the likes. You will never see the likes of a game like that again. It's over. Okay, it's over. So yeah, it's only a matter of time, man. So Capcom is like worried right now, because if they can't get to make another Marvel vs. Capcom, and then a Marvel vs. DC comes out from NetherRealm Studios, goodbye Marvel vs. Capcom. Goodbye. Goodbye. It is over. It's only a matter of time, man. Only a matter of time. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video so y'all can look at it and enjoy it. And thanks thank you for watching it. If you like it. Nice talking to you beautiful people again. Chris, still a Star Wars and Star Trek thing for Dark Side. I'm gone. Peace.